Good afternoon, everybody. There's this really great article from the 1909s, 1900s that I want to use as the stepping off point for our predictive timing software today. And there's this young kid out of Lufkin, Texas named William Delbert Gann, WD. And he's making quite a ruckus down on the trading floor. And we can see examples. Some time ago, the attention of this magazine was attracted by a long pull stock market predictions, which were being made by Gann. In a number of the cases, he would give us in advance the exact points at which stocks and commodities would sell, together with prices close to then prevailing figures which would not be touched. And so what's interesting here is this paragraph. And I want it to be the start of our conversation today. It appears Gann has developed an entirely new idea as to the principles governing stock market movements. He bases his operations or trades upon certain natural laws which have existed since the world began. And this intrigues me. Gann is telling people the times, the days that markets are going to go up or down in the future. And matter-of-factly, plainly states to anyone who will listen, stand still long enough to hear him say, it's based on the laws of nature. And I thought, well, what does that mean, right? Let's get out of the PowerPoint and go straight to the laws of nature and come back and look at how those laws affect the markets and how we trade them. I'm going to zip over to another workspace and show you guys this chart right here. And this is Bitcoin on a daily time frame. And what we'll see, when you think of Bitcoin, you think random, right? I think chaotic, blockchain, no way to know what's going to happen, on the edge of your seat, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, Doge, Trump coin, right? Like all of this stuff. And Jill, when I look at this chart and I see where the red and the green dots are, I see that a preponderance of the signals, a great many of them, are near the actual highs and lows of the signals. Earl, would you agree with that assessment in this one area in particular? Sometimes not so much, but Jill, would you say generally speaking, when we're near one of the green signals, the price of Bitcoin goes up until the next red signal? Yeah, it's sort of obvious. If you've ever looked at an indicator for any kind of trading tool before, you sort of know that, or even maybe even question that I haven't drawn the signals in by hand after the fact. Okay, now something else interesting really happens here. In your handout section, there's a book that I wrote in 2016, which took note of how certain patterns in time produce reversals. For example, if we look on page number 27. Page number 27, we notice that when we're looking at predictive timing signals, if you arrive at a buying time that was predicted in the future, and that candle or the one to the left or the right of it are brand new highs, that Jill, it has a tendency to reverse and go down. This is a 1-minute NASDAQ chart on the earliest form of our program called Flux. Some of you are original owners of Flux, and to you I say, thank you. A sip in your favor. In your honor. Well, Jill, look at this. If I apply a signal from our data mining software, a pattern that we've mechanized, no discretion. And I say, whoa, there's this signal here. You see how the candle to the very left of it, Jill, is a brand new high? Right there. And it matches the definition of this diagram. Well, that's weird. I'll tell you why in a second. And now over here on this selling pressure signal, the candle to the left of it is the brand new low in relation to these other cycles that we've been looking at on a 1-minute NQ chart. And when we apply that definition to the red dot on this chart, this signal on Bitcoin reverses and goes straight up, just like the diagram said we would see it if we just apply this definition. And so these are signals that we look at intraday on our flux charts, on our warp charts, on our Kronos charts. And what really starts to bend my brain is the following. So I'm going to come here and just so we remember, that was a 5 and this was a 4. And I'm going to tell you where these signals come from. Because when they interviewed Gann, remember he said, bases his trades on, and I'll paraphrase, the laws of nature. So everywhere you see a green signal is a perigee of the moon to the earth. That is a point in the moon's rotation around the earth in its orbit that it is closest to our planet. Let me show you a quick diagram. This is an apogee-perigee chart. The moon around the earth, when it's farthest away is called the apogee. When it's closest is called the perigee. Now, before you freak out, I have people that have had religious meltdowns and were afraid their pastor was going to find out I was showing them devil stuff. Astrology. This isn't astrology. This is astronomy. It's different. They even spelled it different. All you need to know is that if we treat it like a predictive trading system, it works. And it obeys the same laws that our data mining software obeys. And I told you 2 weeks ago that Bitcoin was going to go up from April 13th until April 26th. And the next signal is already over here, 9 days, 7 hours, 42 minutes, and 56 seconds from now. And it's not something that has been happening the last few signals. This is a year plus worth of apogees and perigees. And if you're interested in finding out where the dates come from, go to Google and type apogee, perigee calendar, and here they are. There's no secret here. And if I blow this up, there it is. Now, if I post this chart on any cryptocurrency page on Facebook, I will be lauded as an expert. The minute I tell them apogee, perigee, Jill, they laugh me out of the building. They laugh me out of the building. And so when we go and we look at other markets, let's take a look at the NASDAQ futures market, and I'll bring my dots a little closer to the bars. I want to see, do natural laws influence the behavior of traders on a daily time frame for the NASDAQ? And I'll move the dots out just a little bit more. Let's go 900 instead of 400, about a ATR and a half away from the candle. La, 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 la. There it is. A little bit more. Let's go to 1500. I want the dots about a bar and a half away from the candles. And now, Jill, a funny thing happened on the way to the theater. If I apply the rules to this chart, there's a pattern 5 right here. There's a pattern 5 right here. There's a pattern 5 right there. And so why am I seeing pattern 5s on the E-mini NASDAQ and on the pattern 5s? Because of where the moon in the sky is, the NASDAQ falls. And is it a recent phenomenon? No. It's been happening for a while. And so we really start to lean into this idea that maybe Gann was on to something. Maybe this idea of nature having an integral component in human behavior is critical to our understanding how markets move. Is critical to understanding how markets move. And so we had this really interesting experiment this week. We've done it, gosh, for the last 16 years. And I show you graphs like this. And how many of you have been to enough webinars to know that I told you about the April 14th signal in gold on the daily chart lasting until the April 28th signal? Many of you have been here for most of these predictions, but how many of you remember me saying in last week's webinar on April 28th, gold should start to go down until April 15th? Yeah, you were here. Several of you, almost all of you, are saying yes, that were here last week. Well, this chart bears a haunting resemblance to our natural law chart, in that we can see the dates coming up on the side of the chart. I can see May 15th, June 4th, July 7th, and if I scrunch up the charts even more, look, I have the dates all the way through April of next year, which means that these signals on our chart were known a year in advance. If I can see April now, that means I could have seen this signal 12 months ago. That means I could have seen this signal 12 months ago, this signal, and this signal, and this signal, and this signal 12 months ago. This approach isn't looking at the moon and the sun and the stars. It's looking at the patterns in the historical data. We're not looking at the source of the ripple. We're looking at the ripples with Warp and with Kronos for TradingView. We're saying, all right, the last several weeks, when does the NASDAQ go up and down on a minute-based chart? The last 10 years, when does gold go up or down on a daily chart? When does SPY, when does crypto insert meme coin, when does the stock go up or down? If you're a user of the software, I met with a guy earlier this week, and I posted a chart. I think it's here somewhere. We looked at a stock called AMWL, American Well Corporation, and this is a 714.00 stock. He said, I only trade stocks $5 to $10. May 15th, thank you. But if you're a stock person, we did come across one that's working really well with the signals. And these signals, I have a buy signal on May 21st and a sell signal on June 18th. So just a little nugget there for you. And what's crazy, let me see if I can find it, is we're able to conduct experiments with people. What's the experiment? I know most people aren't going to believe anything I say. When Gann was interviewed, demonstrating all of the things that they wrote about in the article, in the very next paragraph, the editor says very simply, I'm writing this knowing full well most of you knuckle-dragging mouth breathers won't learn anything because this requires you to use your brains. And he said, most traders in Wall Street hate thinking. I find this profoundly comforting because our web metrics show only about 15% of people who go through our website actually believe this or care to think about it. 25% of people who come to a webinar and see exactly what I'm about to show you believe it, which means about the same number of people over 100 years ago were willing to exert the effort required to learn about the thing that probably has the most capacity to change their trading lives. Well, Michael, what did you do to prove this is true? Every week for 15, 16 years now, we post an internal web page. Below will be the market forecasts using our TachEon Warp tool for Wednesday, April 30th and Thursday, May 1st. Here's a link to the page. We refresh it every week. I'll put it in the chat box. Where are you, chat box? And I just sent it to everybody. If you're watching from home, backtothefuturetrading.com/warp-webinar-forecasts. And here's what we had for Thursday, the NASDAQ 1-minute chart, which is what most of you crazy people trade with your Apex account and your Bullinox account, all of your prop firms. I want you to see, number one, this chart was added to Screencast's database on Sunday, 4 days ago. You see when I hover over it, every single blue and white and black and gray pixel was indelibly uploaded to Screencast's TechSmith's server. 9:11 p.m. Eastern on Sunday night, one of the greatest people you'll ever meet, Rachel Schmidt, uploaded these charts for us. So that 4 days later, we could look and see if what we're looking at is true or not. If you're going to predict the future, you better be right consistently, or you're gonna get tarred and feathered. Your Trustpilot page will not be a 4.8 out of 5 if you're wrong. So when you look here, check it out. 909, 925, 942, 955, a bunch of signals close together, 1013, 1039, 1044. These were the times that the program found when looking at the ripples lately. It said these are the times lately where the market usually is being pushed up. Think perigee days. And these are the times when the markets are usually being pushed down lately in the last 5,000 bars of historical data, the last 10,000 bars of historical data. So we're not looking at the source, but we're looking at the ripples. And we're saying, Jill, if this is what the ripples are doing now in the past, the next ripple should be here. And the next ripple after that should be here. And the next ripple after that should be here. We're looking at the historical data and seeing, are there any times where things are happening consistently enough? Not 100%, maybe 60 or 65% of the time. So check it out. If I come here and I compare that to this, I'm just going to connect them with some lines. You can blow it up at home. 925, 925. 909, 909. 942, 942. 955, 955. 1009, 1009. 1013, 1013. Can we admit, or can you give me just enough rope to say, Michael, the signals from this chart from 4 days ago on the most popularly requested market when people ask for demonstrations are the same times that are on your chart today? Yes or no? Yeah, of course. What happened at those times? And does it bear any resemblance to the predictive nature of the natural laws driving the E-mini NASDAQ? Can we see that there's at least some semblance of similarity between what happens at the predictive dates with a natural law component and what happens at the predictive times using a data mining approach? Boy, they sure seem similar in accuracy, all the way to and including this afternoon. Okay. Any questions about that so far? It wasn't just the NQ. If we look at the E-mini S&P on a 5-minute chart today, these are the times that we've been waiting 4 days for. These are the times that we've been waiting 4 days for. And while it's not 100%, boy, it's sure more than half. It's sure more than half. Long at 4:55 Eastern, short at 6:10 Eastern, long at 7:30 Eastern, short at 8:05. What comes out? Massive unemployment. Bad news, the market should fall, right? 9:40, it opens straight up. 9:55, they run the stops and drive it right back down. 10:40, they take it up. 11:15 until 12:10. Where did we see any evidence that this might happen? Thursday, May 1st, ES 5-minute. Let me scroll over. 610, 610, 455, 455, 730, 730, 805, 940, 940, 940, 955, 955. And what we start to see is very similar to what we saw in Bitcoin, the natural law component. These signals are residing, Jill, right around the places these markets are slowing down and turning. And in some cases, it's the exact high. 240 today, boom. 11:15 today, boom. And at 1 o'clock, doesn't work. What happens at 125 though? What have we had for 8 years as a handout in our guidebook? Remember, these times are 4 days old. Huh. 125, 125. What is going on at 125? Huh. I have a prior swing and then a brand new swing high. And Jill, 125 is a higher high. Huh. It's doing it on a 5-minute chart that is 4 days old. By the way, you can activate the signal patterns with NinjaTrader by unchecking this box. I like to do it by hand. So really now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10 out of 13 signals do what's expected. Is it just today? Were we just lucky today? No. These were yesterday's times. These were yesterday's times. What do you mean yesterday's times? Well, here's Wednesday. S&P 5-minute added 4 days ago at 9 o'clock. And these times are these times. What I'm trying to tell you is the people who know this stuff works aren't telling you why it works. They're not telling you how markets really move. In fact, one of the guys who's responsible for manipulating markets and building one of the largest trading organizations in the world said something out loud. He said, millionaires don't use astrology. Billionaires do. And in the early 1900s, billionaires was a big deal. Billionaire is like a trillionaire today. So the original JP Morgan understood what Gann knew. And they absorbed that into how they trade. Jill, banks know when you're going to feel ecstatic, prone to risk, and crazy ideas. Thelma and Louise times of the month when you're like, let me buy a Bitcoin. My neighbor bought it and he's got a Bugatti now. I think that would be a good idea. And then 14 days later, Moon's on the other side and you're like, who let me buy this much Bitcoin? What is wrong with you people? There's this great scene in the movie Step Brothers with Will Smith, and they ask permission if they can make bunk beds out of their beds, and they stack them on top of each other, and then you hear boom, and the one bed comes and crushes Will Smith, and he says, why did you let us build the bunk beds? That was such a bad idea. Morgan understood the undercurrents of the energy that makes us want to buy and sell things. And when we come back 109 years, 130 years later, the S&P has a schedule every day. And it's not 100%, but we'll disactivate that button right there. Jill, you see the pattern 5? Boy, wouldn't it be nice to know that that's probably the high of the session when it's happening, and take a short there, and it ends up being the high of the day. And that pattern works on lunar charts, solar charts. So when we plug the same approach into TradingView, look at what we get. The guys I met with earlier today traded gold futures and the NASDAQ. I met with a group of 4 brothers today. Are you guys here? What's the guy's name? Lamar Brown. I'm going to zoom this in. I paid for it. I won't be home until 6 tonight Central to get it on my computer. Also, myself, Tony, Steve, all made $1,300 and up off of NAS this morning, just based on the times you gave us to trade this morning. Can you guys see that on my phone, or is it reflect? That's the text from today, based off of this chart. And so what we're able to do with Kronos, which is the version of this for TradingView, is a little limited because of the platform, but I'll make the color change in here so we can see it a little better. Visibility, style. I want to change that yellow to a black. Future line color, vertical line. Anyway, this says future sell time, this says future buy time. And it's telling me there was a sell signal at 348 on the 3-minute NASDAQ, which is what they traded. It's telling me there's a future buy time at 5:15 and a sell time at 6:09, which means I know when in the future from 348 until 5:15. That means when you trade, you're not reactive, you're proactive. Your stops are smaller because the trade either works now or it doesn't. You stay in it longer because there's a reason to stay in it. This signal here on gold futures lasts from 436 until 441. The only reason that's there is because that's what the ripples are doing now. That's it. And we're not looking at lunar signals on Bitcoin, but if we look at the ripples of the data, Jill, the accuracy is the same. Long on Bitcoin from 7 a.m. on a 1-hour chart to midnight. Long on Bitcoin from 7 until midnight. There's selling pressure from midnight until 10 p.m. tomorrow. Cool. I like to look at Trump coin because if there was ever a manipulated market, it's that one. And look at Trump coin. And Jill, right here is a pattern 5. That's hilarious to me. And on Trump coin, right here is a pattern 4. And so I have some guidance. I have some guidance now, even on the weirdest of instruments. Even on the weirdest of instruments. Yeah, that is weird, isn't it? I'll check on it, JJ. Matter of fact, let me come here and just make a note for the programmer to check on that for me. Will you check back with me next week? And we'll get it going. Stand by. I just want to make a note to the programmer. XAU, it's not operating on. That's the only one. All right, cool. So here's regular gold futures. And it's the same thing. So any questions about either of those? Because what we're really looking for is any kind of evidence that these markets have a schedule. Here's oil futures today at the 1 minute times. I buy at the signals in the direction of the trend. I get out at the counter trend signals. And Jill, 1044 today in oil was a pattern 5. If I want to see the advanced patterns, I can hit that button. And now an 8-year-old idea turns into something I can see in real time. Pattern 5 at 946, pattern 5 at 1044. If you're a counter trend trader, the 4s and 5s are your best friends because you can put a stop right above those signals and short them. You can put a stop right above those signals and short them. If it's a regular pattern 1, signal with trend, get in, get out. If it's a pattern 2 and the risk is small, short it right here until 1018. Don't use the trend stop. Use a local aggressive stop. Use a local aggressive stop. So in this instance, if you were trading oil, you could be short at 946 until 1007 and lose 21. You can be short at 1007 until 1018 and make 28. You can be long at 1018 and get out at 1029 for plus 22. Then you're waiting for that next signal. It comes up and hits our stop minus 8. Pattern 5 at 1044 until 11 o'clock plus 49. Yeah, so if we elevate this now, Chris, I'll take the advanced patterns off and we look at a daily chart. It's going to load 10 years of data. Here's the daily chart for oil with the signals coming up in the future. So let's get that in the public record. And Chris, the window is saying long from April 28th until May 7th, short from May 7th until May 14th, and then up again until June 20th. What I see here now is an emerging trend line. You see that guy? And a lot of times when you get near a reversal at a low, it'll work its way back up to the top of the channel probably by the 7th of May. So 6 days from now is not unrealistic because you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 from that low right here to get back to the top. So it's very real for us to see a move back to here by the 7th. If we look at the weekly, the weekly is still in a, let's clear up the chart. It's still in an upcycle until the 18th of July. So this looks like stop runs right here, here, and here. And we may see that same thing on the weekly chart now. If I copy this angle, there may be some relevance. Yep, right there. So on the weekly chart, we have that. Let's take a look at the S&P on a weekly chart. And yeah, that's a hot tamale right now. That thing just fell apart on the 28th. And Jill was almost a pattern 5. Let's see if the software called that a pattern 5, just out of curiosity. Nope, didn't qualify. Okay, just a failed signal. And so now, here's what's happening. those of you that are in my advanced class, what's happening to the signals right now, Earl? Anybody know? Gary? Yes, Gary, 7, 14, and 8 on all the dailies and the weeklies. Just make sure you load 3,560 days. So when you come into here, Gary, make sure you load, I have 1,825 weeks. So Warp has the patterns TradingView doesn't with Kronos, because we've maxed out the number of lines of code you're allowed to use. JJ, if you have the 10-day trial, you're using the LTD version, it doesn't have patterns. So at the end of your trial, if you move on, you'll have the patterns with us. There's a phenomenon in time signals, where when we come into a reversal of a trend, the signals all start to move backwards. The green goes down, the red goes up, the green goes down, the red goes up. Yep, TradingView won't do it, and so you need to look at the manual in the handouts to find them. And so right now, if I do the splits, Gary, on the daily, you see how it went down at the buy and up at the red? We're going to continue up now until the week of May 9th, the end of next week. And then we're likely to go down here and up here on the weekly. And that usually means the termination of the uptrend. Here's the high. Here's the bottom that's forming. And what usually happens when that pattern appears is it starts to go down and down and down. So on the weekly, guys, we're putting in a trend reversal pattern on a more advanced scale. Gold, we can take a look at on the weekly. That kind of paints a picture right there. We'll run the splits in between. And it's opposite too. So those signals now, Gary, Earl, are going backwards. We went up here. So if you look at your document, Jill, from the trading room, Earl, you see higher close, higher close, higher close at a sell dot, higher close, higher close, higher close at a sell dot, into the next green signal where it starts to reverse, into the next red signal where it starts to go up. Gold has just put in its high on the weekly chart right here. So we're down here until the next push up, which will be the week of May 30th. Any questions? On the 5-minute chart today for gold, these were the times we had told you about to watch for. So if we go back one last time for the experiment, this will be the last time, I promise. Gold 5-minute. Gold 5-minute, gold 5-minute. Yep. These are those signals for today. A beginner question, there are 3 setups that I teach, Assad, and I ran out of time this week to go through them with you, but I do have a recording that everyone's welcome to where I went through the setups in the live training room. And can you guys tell me if this link comes through? It's a Dropbox link. Will you download that video? It's an MP4 Michael Papa 4 format video to your desktop before you try to view it. Dropbox will stop after like 15 minutes for the preview. And Assad, what I basically teach are 4 different setups. The signal with trend, the aggressive counter trend, the puncture, and the CDOS, the close in the direction of the signal. So the primary ones that are probably the best value for dollar is on the close of the trend signals. This is a 120 period EMA. Assad, I enter short at the close of that candle and I exit by the opposite signal. I enter short at the close of this candle and I exit at the next signal. I enter short at the time signal and I exit by the next signal. I enter short and I exit by the next signal. I enter short and I exit by the next signal. I enter short and I hit the stop. And when it usually hits the stop the first time, it's a trend reversal because there's no more sellers left. Does that make sense? So in the case of gold, from the London session to the close, that's $560. That's $1,600. That's $1,300. That's $260. That's $730 minus $520, and then by the close plus $740 using times from 4 days ago. So what's really cool, and what I really wanted to sort of impress upon everybody, was that our approach is based on a technique that's been working since the early 1900s. And a guy with a bunch of moxie had the cojones to let everybody know what he was doing. And the guy who interviewed him, who witnessed it for himself and documented all of his trades, acknowledges in the first 3 paragraphs, none of you are going to believe it or use it, despite the fact that he's telling you exactly what he's doing. And if we try to retrace his steps and go back into that universe, we see that the things he was telling people 109 years ago are still working today with the same patterns that we've been following for 16 years. The patterns that work on charts that are derived from nature are still working on charts that are derived from data, which tells me, Jill, there's a giant invisible steel chain connecting one technique to the other. And if we simply tell the computer to look for the ripples, it finds them. And the patterns that exist from nature pop up and float to the surface of the patterns derived from technology. The ripples, the natural laws, all of it is linked together, which means I'm not in danger of curve fitting this. It won't be less relevant a year from now when people aren't talking about fair value gaps and ICT and the silver bullet and trend line trading with the girl on Instagram. All of these people come, they make their affiliate commissions, and they go away. And most of you buy their stuff and move on to the next guru. Oh, he has a Russian accent. He must be smart. And then the next guru. And oh, he uses initials just like the other guy. This is the yellow MNOP system. This one's different. And then it stops working. This has been working for over a century. If we go by the very first thing I showed you, we know the turning points for Bitcoin for the next 1,000 years. Think about that. And think about who knows about that. And when you wake up tomorrow, remember, you could have known what this guy's great-great-grandchildren know, passed down to them in some weird, spooky goat sacrifice thing, probably in the woods somewhere behind their McMansions. Today I will teach you the secrets of the markets. Bring the ram. You can know what he knows. It's right here. It's right here for the taking. So if you're part of the 25% of people who are like, all right, I'm in. Assad, watch the video. I really spent 2 hours training people. Your answer deserves more than 5 minutes at the end of a sales webinar. If you want the version for NinjaTrader, this is called Warp. It exists. It's on the web page. I'm going to put a link to it in the GoToWebinar chat box. If you go to our homepage at backtothefuturetrading.com, under Trading Tools, go to Warp, and you'll see you can have brand new a $495 monthly option. There's an annual subscription for $2,995, and you can own it forever for $59.95. $495 auto renews at $495. You can cancel anytime. If you want the TradingView variant, it's called Kronos. It's $295 a month. You can't do some of the things Warp can do just because the platform isn't powerful enough to handle it. So you pay a little less per month. It's $295. There's an annual lease of $19.95. You can own it forever for $29.95. And once you get it, you'll get a username and password to our website. You'll be directed to our video training archive. You'll also get a link to our Discord, where people are publishing their charts and helping each other in the room. Jill, you're in there. Woohoo! And people are posting their charts and sharing their ideas and supporting each other and working with their Apex accounts and doing all the things. And so that's part of your subscription as well. You're a member of that family, and there are people in there who've had the software for a few hours and people who've had it for a few decades almost, and they're there to help you and support you as well. If you're concerned about whether or not we are a for real deal, we have been in business for 16 plus years, and we have a 4.8 rating on Trustpilot. Every person here is a customer who has paid for the software, who has sat in the webinar like you have, who has taken it to the markets and tried it, just like the guy with the text from this morning. And so I would really suggest you spend 5, 10, 15 minutes, read at least 10 of these reviews, just randomly stop on people and see what they have to say. How did your son do last week? Evan did incredible. His concert was bananas, and he moved into his apartment. My son is a music performance major at UNCG Greensboro, and we helped him move in. And JJ, this is a marijuana growing tent in his apartment, and inside of it is a 3D printer that uses resins, and the resins have a fume to them. So we have those fumes exhausting through charcoal and outside of his window, but his roommate thought that he was doing something nefarious in his room. So thank you for asking. It's been quite an adventure with those guys, and I love them to death. And I'm sad that they're getting older, but I'm also proud because, you know, that's my purpose in life right now, to make sure they get started on the right foot. I'm here to support them and make sure they get going in the right direction. You can have these times for tomorrow. You can experience the things that the customers are experiencing. It's never been easier to get this. It's never been better to try with as much support as we've ever had with our customers in the Kronos. And I'll close that. And I've never been more proud of the products that we've made and the results that we're having in the lives of the people who are using it. So take a chance, be one of those people a century later who's willing to think and do research, grab onto the back of a train based on the laws of nature and hang on tight, because you're about to see a very profound change in how you trade and what you see. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your patronage. I believe in you. I believe every person here can do this. I want it for you, with you. I agree with you that it's possible, and there's a moment in the future where you're living the life you've always dreamed you could have, doing this thing that very few people on earth can do. I'm proud of you for getting to this point. I'm proud that you wake up every day and do the hardest things, that you're willing to make mistakes and learn from them, knowing there's no university you can go to and the people who are doing it well aren't sharing what they know. This is hard, and I'm proud of you for trying. You're still here, you're still alive, you're still breathing. Every day that you learn something new, you're one step closer to the fullness of what's possible for you without limitations in this market. If the banks can do it and we can track the banks, then you can do it. May the wind be at your back. May the sun shine upon your beautiful, handsome faces. May the mountains of adversity lay low before you. May the valleys rise up to meet you as you move forward this day into what may be dark days for some, but the volatility for us, fertile fields filled with ticks and pips and unlimited potential, long trailing stops and short, tiny stop outs. I wish these things for you and agree with you in their fullness with you together. Amen and amen. JJ, yes, there's a link on the webpage, and if you want, email me and I'll send you a link to come into the trading room. I got your email address here. I'll send it to you. Hey, Megan, I'll see you guys lesson. I think Juan would be happy to, and if you're in the Discord, just reach out to him. He's in there and connect, and you and your daughter would benefit tremendously. He has a heart for teaching, so just connect with him in the Discord. He has a Skype and I think a WhatsApp too. Take care, guys. JJ, I'll send you this link. We'll get you started. Remember, the future you trade is not random. Predictive times do exist. You can wake up tomorrow and know, or choose to not know. But if you can know and don't want to, maybe that's a little more like gambling and a little less like trading. If that's the case, please step away, take a break, breathe in, breathe out. Don't lose everything, because you can, and more if you're not careful. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.